Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Dr. Hajah Noreka Chandra MPD and dear audience. Please allow me, Dzahabiyah Alfiya Zahra, to present you my semantic papers entitled Thematic Roles Analysis in Poems written by English Language Education Study Program or ELESP students in Lambung Mangkurat University. All right. There are 4 parts in the article. The first one is introduction, which contains research objectives. The second one is method and samples. The third one is findings and discussion. And the last one is conclusion. Without any further ado, let's move to the first part, introduction. Semantics is a study of the meaning of the language. It does not only study the literal meaning, but also the implicit meaning, and all of the meaning in which the words are arranging with the other words. One of semantics interpretations is thematic role. Thematic roles are the roles that the referent of non-phrases play in the situation described by utterances. Or in other words, thematic roles categorize the roles that the non-phrases play in certain situation or particular action. There are some research of semantic roles, namely, for example, like research of thematic roles in fiction, such as narrative text as conducted by Marlina at 2012, and in comics as conducted by Rahma at 2018. There are also research of thematic roles in particular sentence, such as active and passive sentences, as conducted by Suryanita, etc. at 2020. However, there is still little research of thematic roles in poetry. There are some semantics research about poetry, but it tends to focus on the meaning or the theme of the poetry itself. For example, like the research conducted by Muhammad at 2021. According to the explanation that I have explained before, we can conclude that thematic roles are very important in determining the part played by noun in sentences. Thus, regarding the little research about thematic roles in poetry, the researcher conducts this study to describe the thematic roles used by English language education study program students in their poems and the most frequent role found. All right, let's move to the second part, the method and the sample. The qualitative research is used in this study because this study aims to find the phenomena or the behavior, which is the action of using thematic roles by the students in their poems. Specifically, the method used is literary study because the data collected is from literature, which is poems written by English language education study program students of Lambung Mangkurat University, specifically in creative writing class at 2021. There are 3 samples that is collected in this article. Namely, the first one is To Love You by Sharina Putri Sabrina, and the second one is Serendipity by Nur Anissa, and the third is Little Secret by Yukita Haura Anissa. All of these samples has similar characteristics. Namely, the first one is all of them are long poems, and the theme is the same, which is love. And they also use the same point of view, which is the first person by using I. It is expected that by having the similar characteristic, it is expected that the thematic roles used in the poems are clearly analyzed because the similar characteristic. Now we move to the findings and discussion. So here the first one is analyzing the first poem, which is To Love You by Sharina Putri Sabrina. As we can see here, all of the words that is bold is the noun phrases that is analyzed. Meanwhile, all of the words that are highlighted by the yellow color are the thematic roles. After analyzing those thematic roles in the poems, it is found that there are 6 kind of thematic roles, namely 3 stimulus, 4 patient, 7 theme, 1 goal, 2 location, and 2 agent. All right, let's take a look all of these kind of thematic roles. The first one is stimulus. Stimulus is the entity that is cause the feeling or the feeling itself. For example, like this, it feels bittersweet to love you. It is stimulus because it feels bittersweet. It gives the feeling of bittersweet. And then the patient. Patient is similar is object of the action, or it is the entity that is affected by the action. For example, like this, it feels bittersweet to love you. The one that is get affected by the action of love is you. And then the third is the theme. Theme is similar with patient, but it is specific, which is the theme is usually described, or it is the thing or the entity that is moved by the action. For example, like this, like the snow drifts giving way to spring. The snow is moved by the action, which is drifts giving away. And then there is goal. Goal is the place or the situation in which the action is toward to. For example, like this, like a dust storm swallowing up the sky. The sky is a goal because the dust storm is swallowing up to the sky. The goal, the purpose, the location, which is the dust is swallowing up, is on the sky. And then the next is location. Location is the place or the situation in which the action is happening or the event is occurring. For example, like this, like the snow drifts giving way to spring. Spring is the season which is the snow is drifting, giving away. And then the last one is agent. Agent is the initiator that do the action. For example, like this, I will hold you. The one that we hold is I, right? That's why it is considered as agent. As we can see here, the most frequent thematic role is theme because it appears 7 times in the poems. Let's take a look for the next poems. Serendipity by Dr. Anissa. Once again, all of the words that are bold are the words, the non-phrases words that is analyzed. Meanwhile, all of the words that is highlighted with the yellow color is the thematic roles. After analyzing all of the thematic roles, it is found that there are 7 kinds of thematic roles, namely 7 theme, 3 force, 2 recipient, 1 location, 5 agent, and 1 experiencer, and 3 patient. As we can see here, the most frequent thematic role is theme again, just like the previous poems. Moreover, there are also 4 thematic roles that is same with the previous, namely theme, agent, location, and patient. But in here, there are also force, recipient, and experiencer. Force is similar with agent, but it is the inanimate thing or inanimate entity in which it does the action, but it needs help from the agent itself. For example, like this, a heavenly voice, as tender as a spring breeze, like a warm hug, puts every heart at ease. As we can see here, it means that a heavenly voice puts every heart at ease. It does the action. It puts every heart at ease. However, a heavenly voice is not agent because 1, it is an inanimate thing, and second, as we know, a heavenly voice is produced by humans, so it needs another help. Therefore, it is considered as force. And then the second one is recipient. It is similar with patient, but it is more specific, in which recipient is the entity that receives something. For example, like this, but he was given something even more wonderful. It means that he receives something even more wonderful. Therefore, it is considered as recipient. And the last one is experiencer. Experiencer has close relationship with stimulus. If stimulus is the cause of the feeling or the feeling itself, experiencer is the entity or the one that feel the feeling itself. For example, like this, that even Aphrodite is in shame. The one that feels shame is Aphrodite. That's why it is called experiencer. All right, let's move to the last samples. Little Secret by Yukita Haura Anissa. Once again, all of the words that are bold are the words of the noun phrases that is analyzed. Meanwhile, all of the words that is highlighted with the yellow color are the thematic rules. After analyzing all of the thematic roles in this poem, it is found that there are 7 kinds of thematic roles, namely 2 location, 4 force, 10 agent, 7 theme, 2 patient, 3 stimulus, and 1 goal. As we can see here, the most frequent thematic roles is agent because it appears 10 times in the poem. However, the second most frequent thematic role is theme because it appears 7 times. So it is similar actually with the previous poems that has a lot of frequency of appearance of theme in the previous poems. Once again, there are same thematic roles in this poem, just like previous poems, which is namely agent, patient, location, and theme. But here there are also force, like the previous poems, and then there's also stimulus and goal, just like the first poems, which is to love you. And therefore, all of these thematic roles have already analyzed. Now we move to the conclusion. To sum up, there are 9 thematic roles found in the poems written by English Language Education Study Program students of Lambung Mangkurat University in Creative Writing Class at 2021, namely agent, patient, theme, stimulus, goal, location, force, recipient, and experiencer. The thematic roles that are always found in the 3 poems written by the subjects are agent, patient, theme, and location. In general, the most frequent thematic role is theme. As we know, at the first and the second poems, the most frequent thematic role is theme. However, in the third, theme is the second most frequent thematic role. But in general, we can say that the most frequent thematic role is theme. This can be happened because theme is the entity that is being described. As we know, poetry tends to describe something, especially in detail. Therefore, theme is the thematic role that is most appropriate for the poetry. From this literary study, we can also conclude that thematic roles are also found in poetry, which tends to have implicit meaning. So it doesn't only in, for example, like narrative facts or in certain sentences like passive and active sentences, but also thematic roles are also found in the poetry, which rarely have literal meaning, but it tends to have implicit meaning. By analyzing the thematic roles, understanding the poetry is more likely to be easier because the readers will know what the role that the noun has. So when the readers know what role that the noun play in the certain situation or in the particular action, it will give understanding more better. Then Then, as we know that the poetry has implicit meaning a lot. Therefore, by knowing the thematic roles, it will help the readers to understand more about the poetry. All right, I think that's all the presentation from me. Thank you so much for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.